to The Future Belongs to Creators. This is a show about the creator economy where we dive into the topics and issues that really matter to creators. Let's get started.
Welcome to The Future Belongs to Creators, people. Today we're joined by a very special guest, Whitney Manney, who, if you've ever seen the ConvertKit website or one of our ads, then you might recognize her. She is a fashion designer and a textile artist from KC, and is here today to talk about how you can have a successful creative career when you don't live in like one of the main creative hubs, like in New York, like in LA, like in London, even those sorts of places. Whitney's a great example of this. So yeah, we're going to get into talking about that today. And this is something that I'm looking forward to talking about because, I come from New Zealand. I don't know if you knew that, Whitney. But
right.
We're a country that is definitely not considered a creative hub on the world stage. Like we're often left off of maps even sometimes. We're so small. So
but some good wool comes from New Zealand.
Merino wool,
there
baby.
We go.
Yeah.
Of course, normally people think of like Lord or Lord of the Rings, but of course the fashion designer with
the fibers lady. Yeah, I think of wool, right? Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, we're also joined by Miguel today, and we will be talking to Whitney about this idea of being successful outside of a creative hub. But before we dive into that, let's do our usual. Have you heard? Miguel, what have you got for us today? What's happening in the creator economy?
Okay, so you may have heard of Giphy, right?
I use it regularly.
Yeah.
Right. So for those of you that don't know, it's basically a website, I guess, but it's more than that. It's a kind of a GIF search engine that allows you to easily put in GIFs into like things like text messages, or just, you can go online and find the right GIF that expresses what you're trying to say. Well, you may or not have remembered that like 2 years ago, Meta, then just Facebook, bought it. And then they didn't like do anything with it. They just kind of own it. And then they haven't really changed or integrated it really in any way. Well, so that acquisition actually apparently is something that is still in limbo, even though they bought it 2 years ago, because there's like a new court ruling in the UK that puts that acquisition into question.
What?
And
I didn't know they bought it though. I must admit.
Me neither.
$315 million acquisition, which is funny because Giphy wasn't even monetizing in any way. Like they didn't have any ad revenue. They were just a thing. And they were, for a while, they were trying to figure out how are we going to be profitable, because they were just, I met the founder once at a meetup when I was living in Seattle, and he's like a really cool, like, pretty nice guy. And everybody in the audience was like, when he was doing a QA, was like, how are you guys going to monetize this? And even then he was like, meh. Well, it turns out getting bought out by Facebook is a really good way to make like $250 million. So
fair play to them.
But
not a bad trick.
They might have to force Meta to rewind that acquisition 2 years later, because I don't know. That's crazy. The details as to why is a little murky.
Is it like a monopoly situation, or?
Ooh.
They said that the deal would lead to a, quote, substantial lessening of competition. So, you hit the money on the head.
Monopoly situation. There we go.
Yeah, because I'm like, what is a competitor for Giphy? Anyways, even pre-Meta ownership.
Google image search.
That's true. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, well, yeah, we'll keep an eye on that, because I feel like where they have integrated it is in Instagram stories, right? You can add a GIF in there. I know I made some ConvertKit GIFs, and I got them into Instagram by uploading them to Giphy and like tagging them with ConvertKit. So now you can go on Instagram and type ConvertKit and find them. Little hack if you want some cool animations.
I know. I need to do that. I want like some WM GIFs, but the first step is making them. That's my problem. So
Yep. The first step in acting on all of our ideas.
Right.
I feel like my piece of news is not as exciting and on a very different tangent from what you just shared, Miguel. But okay, hear me out. PewDiePie. You know who PewDiePie is, right? He's I think he's not the most subscribed to YouTube channel anymore, but he was for a time.
A long time, yeah.
Yeah. And he's still like way up there as one of the most like popular YouTubers, right? So he recently moved to Japan. And I read this article on the Japan Times talking about how they expect him moving there and him vlogging that experience of him like being in this honeymoon phase of moving to Japan and like loving life there, like finding it really exciting. They think that's going to lead to an increase in tourism for the country, and that it's going to be like a really important part of the economy coming back once travel opens up again there and things like that. And I just, to me, it was just this example of what an impact creators can have, right?
Yeah.
On things outside of the creator economy. This is like Japan's economy in general that we're talking about here. And I personally have been watching all of his moving vlogs and loving them. And so, they have been making me want to go back to Japan. So I get it. I see it.
Japan is on my travel list. I have not traveled internationally yet.
Japan is the first place you want to go?
Japan and London is like, I want to go to Tokyo. So I love Tokyo street fashion. It's such an inspiration to me. I'm not afraid of flying, but I don't enjoy flying. So like,
fair.
I will fly, but like, I'm not having a good time. And so
it's got to be really worth it.
Yeah. The idea of being on a plane for like 12 hours plus, I'm like, oh, I don't know if I could do it.
It makes sense, right? But like the fact that a creator gets to the point where they are part of popular culture.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's a phenomenon that's happened so many times. Like I think in the 80s when Top Gun came out, the fact that Top Gun came out made a lot of people sign up for the Air Force because they wanted to fly a fighter pilot. They want to be a fighter pilot. So it makes sense when like, when media makes something cool, people start paying attention to that thing. So
yeah. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, that's cool as long as people, go and respect the culture and respect Japan and be cool about it. Like, I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Agreed. And like, well, while we're talking about hubs and things, obviously Tokyo, London, the two you've called out as two places to travel to, definitely creative hubs.
I know.
And maybe we'll touch on the fact that visiting those places can be inspiring, as the creator. But let's get into it. Let's talk about this idea of being successful when you don't live in a main hub. Where does this sit for you, Whitney? Like, is it something that you ever felt like, oh, maybe I should be somewhere else if I want to make it in fashion? I should be in one of these like fashion capital cities.
Yeah, I mean, well, growing up, I'm from Kansas City, Missouri. So if y'all say I'm from Kansas, those are fighting words. I'm from the
Wait, did I say you were from Kansas?
No, you did it. But I'm just saying for the viewers and the listeners, it's a difference. The city of Kansas City is in Missouri. It's the thing. We don't know why. It's law, but the metropolitan area, we are here. Kansas City and St. Louis are the two big cities of Missouri. So, but growing up here, you just think like, I got to get out of here to make anything happen. You're in the middle of America, thankfully I'm not in rural Missouri, like, and that's not shade, but like, you just think like, I have to get out of here to kind of make something happen. Because while we were growing up, I mean, internet wasn't what it is now. Yeah. We were always at least 2 years behind on stuff. So information and trends and all that stuff was not getting here as quickly. And so it's kind of nice to be able to like have those like both experiences of that. But you do feel like, I got to get out of here. And especially being in fashion. I mean, I still get asked like, when are you leaving? When are you leaving? And it's like, I don't feel like I have to leave anymore. And I have a peace about it. Not that I'm like, oh, I won't be successful elsewhere. I guess I might as well make the best of what I got. I really feel like I'm supposed to be here. And what I'm doing here is important. And hopefully the people after me that decide to be creatives here, hopefully I have helped make it a little easier or make it, like, yes, this is something that's possible.
That's something I noticed in looking at your like the press page on your website, for example. It seems like the local community is something you're very involved with. And, like, I don't know, tell us more about that. How have you embraced living in KC as part of your career? Not just like tolerated it or dealt with it, but it really does seem like you've embraced it.
Yeah, I mean, KC is a little big city. And I have a lot of family. And so I have a lot of family that they are big personalities. A lot of people know a lot of them. And so, it's home. It's kind of just like, why not? I think a big part of the reason too, it was like, when I graduated high school, it was recession time. And, you know, a lot of these big market crashes and everything kind of happened. So it was like we were in a space of, okay, you got to stay home because that makes the best sense. But as I was going through school and kind of learning about different organizations and foundations and grant opportunities and galleries and stuff, it's like, okay, I can kind of create my own world. It's also the delusion of being young, of being like, I'm gonna build my own business. But I think, at least thankfully, I was realistic about it, because I was like, if I can start my base here where I can afford, you know, a studio, living, a car, have my pup, you know, all those things, then I can do it anywhere. Because to me, I feel like if I can make it in KC, and I can make it within my community and outside of my community, I'm good. I can make it anywhere. And really I would say the first 3 to 4 years of my career, and this is even while I was still in college, was just about creating my name and my brand within the community. Because the fashion industry that's here is strong, but it was in infancy when I was starting out. So it's kind of nice because like I've kind of been able to grow up with a lot of people. I feel like we are like a class. And so it was just like, okay, if I can make it here, I can do anything, because this was such a new idea to Kansas City for fashion designers to even want to like have a fashion week or do shows or things like that. So to kind of be on like the ground level with a lot of those things that got started is like really cool. And after a while, people know you, they kind of put 2 and 2 together, and makes it easier to just kind of keep reaching and reaching out.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like one of the reasons people go to these hubs is because there's a lot of community there and a lot of people that they can connect with. And then you know, you can make those connections and you can grow faster.
Right.
But although a lot of those communities probably didn't used to exist, or maybe were hard to find because
Yeah,
the only way to connect with people was to bump into them, to know them, to call them on the phone. But now with the
exactly.
internet, everyone can find everyone, and you don't have to go to a place to find people. You can just find people.
Exactly. And I mean, Kansas City is a art city. I mean, we are like one of the birthplaces of jazz, you know, and like we have Nelson Atkins, Kemper, we have all these like state, you know, like amazing art institutions. Kansas City Art Institute is like a top ranking fine arts college. So it's like we have the pieces here. It was just like fashion. We didn't think about creating fashion here. And I mean, it's a little kickback because too, sometimes it's like you can make fashion, but like if you're in Kansas City, you should be doing it to the taste of Kansas City. I'm doing some real off the wall, 20 colors in one dress, mix and
Tokyo
match a
street style,
pattern.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing some stuff that people is like, so you're from here? You're born and raised, and that's what you thought of? And it's like, why not? You know, why not?
Well, how was that something you thought of? How did that come to be your style? Something that we pulling from the creator story that our workmate Issa wrote about you.
Yeah.
The tagline was, "Not even the slow-paced fashion world of the Midwest could keep Whitney Manney from dreaming big and creating freely, boldly, and brightly." And that free, bold, and bright perfectly described for me what you create.
Yeah.
In your fashion designs. Where'd that come from?
You know, I mean, it is a very calm city. I mean, people are popping off a little bit more now. But you know, neutral stripes, we love them. And there's a place for that, but I just felt like everybody's already said enough in that lane. What's my lane? And like too, like I as a person, that I don't necessarily feel comfortable. I don't feel my best self in a lot of that, just personal style wise. I think a big thing for me too is like growing up, like music is such a big thing for me. And it's a big part. I mean, I'm not a musician, but it's a big part of my studio practice. And, you know, growing up and listening to music and like just how people dress themselves. And I was obsessed with music videos, obsessed with Barbie, obsessed with packaging. And all of that stuff is big, bold, over the top, and fun. And I think that just kind of carried over. And, you know, 90s and early 2000s hip hop and just what the culture was doing. And, you know, even though the internet wasn't like amazing and we had dial up forever, I love magazines. And so my mama, so when she worked for the airlines, like when I was in high school, her leftover miles, she would subscribe me to any and every magazine that I would want. And like when we would go to the grocery store, that's the aisle you would find me in, like looking through all the 17s and teen people and all that stuff. Like, and so to me, I'm like, I'm getting that outside influence just in a different way. But just being this, it feels natural. It feels like it makes sense to me. I don't know. And my family, they are some sharp dressers. I mean, they can do it for real. So I definitely grew up watching them. They all have amazing personal style. And I just think it's something that just comes natural and something that comes from my culture. And just thankfully nobody said, wouldn't you rather just like blend in a little bit? Wouldn't you just rather like look like everybody else and calm and normal? Thankfully nobody did that. And you know, as I got into high school and, you know, had a little bit of spending money and I could go and get and do and save or whatever, it got a little louder. But clothing is such a big self-expression and it's such a confidence. I have found my self-confidence and my voice through it. So it's very intentional to me.
Do you think there's part of it where, like, I'm not saying this is like what we can pin your success on or anything, but that you do stand out so much compared to the general fashion that was happening in KC, that you were so different? I kind of feel like that's part of embracing where you're from, right? Is embracing your differences compared to it.
Embracing your differences, because I am Kansas City through and through. Like I'm from here. I love it here. I lived in Arizona. I lived in Phoenix, Arizona for 3 years when I was in high school. And I do think that helped also, because I went to an arts high school. And so Phoenix is it's a little more fast paced. It's a little more to be exposed to. And I was coming home almost every other weekend. Shout out to my mama for working at the airline, because I was on them buddy passes all the time. But you know, but to be able to kind of have like compare both worlds, to have grown up in KC, do a little bit of growing up in Arizona, and then be like, okay, I'm gonna come back home. I'm gonna go to school. I'm gonna do this, and it's gonna be fly and it's gonna be good. I think it helps. And just being okay. But see, the thing is I'm so comfortable being not normal because I'm 6 foot. I've always been taller than everybody. So that's a weird thing that's always been about me. I'm very clumsy. So I've always been like, okay with it. I've been called weird so long about different little things that it's like, what else y'all got to say? Like, I'm fine with it. I embrace it. You know, it's like nothing can hurt me at this point. It's either it's going to work or I try again.
Yeah. I love that.
I love that.
I think that I've come to, like, I used to think that coming from New Zealand was holding me back in my success as a creator. And I think it actually wasn't until, because I actually did leave New Zealand and move to a creative hub. I left and moved to London in 2015. And I do really feel like being there helped my creative career take off. But not because I was in that city. It was more from the confidence that I found in that maybe I needed to leave where I was from to truly realize like what parts about it made me special, you know? And now I'm kind of like, I think it's cool that I'm from New Zealand, that I've got this accent, and that people are like, where are you from?
Oh, your accent is so good. Oh my goodness. Yes, that is amazing. No, I wish I had an accent. I'm like, I just sound so normal. Very, I don't know.
Well,
I'm like, y'all are so cool. Yeah.
Well, if you move to London, then you would be the person with the accent. So
there we
right,
go.
that's true.
Yeah.
I gotta
Or
go somewhere super. I gotta go somewhere super different. It's so funny though. Like when we lived in Arizona, everybody thought that I sounded so country. I'm like, I'm from the Midwest. Like, no, they're like, why do y'all? Who says y'all? I'm like, what? Don't hurt my heart now. Come on. Yeah. But I think it's interesting. And two, the thing that I love about being based in KC is that I have genuinely built this thing from the ground up. I can have complete ownership of what this business, what my studio practice has looked like, because it was a lot of figuring out. I mean, a lot of us have figured it out as we've gone along the way. And it's like, we didn't necessarily have somebody here to be like, how did you do X, Y, and Z? It was a lot of trial and error. And to be able to get to this point and be like, this is something that I truly designed, essentially, is very, very empowering as well.
Was there ever a time when you hit some struggles, or I don't know, didn't have the traction that you wanted, and you felt like, do I got to do it? Do I have to pick up, move to LA where I know my style like is going to fit in super well there? People are going to love it. Did you have that moment?
Oh, totally. I mean, that probably almost happens once a month though still. But there are times, I mean, when you do, it's like, okay, I'm fine with being in KC. And I haven't had that in a while. I would say, I think when it was the times where I was really trying to just figure out, like, what does this system look like for me, as far as I'm creating, I'm marketing, I'm designing, I'm constructing, all the things. Yeah. So it's like, what do I need to let go of, first of all, because that's too much. And I'm still figuring that out right now. But then also, like, okay, you moved to LA, then what? There's literally 50 other U's there. There's only one U here. That is an advantage. To be able to like have the space and the time to flex that out, because to me, if I move to LA or New York, I'm going to be so worried about just surviving that I feel like I wouldn't be able to dedicate the time and brain power that I need to be a creative. And I have to be honest about that. I worry so much about everything. I worry about even being able to take care of myself in the Midwest. I mean, and just with the state of the world right now, I think everybody's head is kind of like, what the heck is going on? But I know that for me, if I was in a bigger city, I think I would be too scared, because first of all, I'll be like, there's hundreds of me here that are trying to make it, trying to, break into it. The bigger thing is that because I am in the Midwest, I have to give myself grace and acknowledge that maybe this is going to take a little bit more time than it would some of my peers that are on the coast. But also, I'm not achieving things either. Like, the credits are there. So I'm also like, the longevity, I'm able to have longevity, I feel like also. It's not like a quick spark and boom and fizzle. And then now you're trying to figure out how to create the next wave. I feel like I've been able to create a steady pace thing, but because I have the space and I'm sitting here, this is the biggest studio I've ever had. This is a 50 by 15 space. I wouldn't be able to afford nothing like this on the coast and have a separate place to live and, and have all the machines that I need. It's like I'm able to really build a fashion house. And that's important to me.
Absolutely. And do it in a way that, like you said, is sustainable for you as well. So you're not having to like just stress constantly about where the next thing's coming from. But okay, you mentioned credits just then. And so something really cool, because I really enjoyed this show and I was very excited when you were on it. Your work was recently featured in Ballet, which is, for anyone who hasn't seen it, it's like a reboot, a remake kind of
retelling.
Fresh Prince. Retelling. I like it.
Yeah.
How did that come to be that your work was featured on Ballet?
I don't know. I have no idea. I'm just thankful it happened. I'm like, it wasn't something that was like hey, designers, artists, apply. We want to see your work. It was no open call, no nothing. I had already knew I was going to watch the show because Morgan Cooper, the creator, he is from Kansas City, Missouri as well. So I'm like, the original trailer that then inspired them to greenlight the project, I was like, bet this is going to be cool. Like, we're going to watch this. It's going to be awesome. KC doing big things. And so I knew that the show was premiering in February of this year. So I got the call in August of last year. And again, like I said, I've been telling y'all, I thought somebody was trolling me because it was the day after my birthday. And so I was like, somebody's messing with me, trying to be funny. Sitting in studio, I just got a text from the costume designer at the time, like, we're interested in your work. We would love to pull pieces for the character Ashley Banks. So once I like cross-checked their name and made sure, like, okay, this is a real person.
This is legit. Yeah.
They are a union costume designer. Okay, let's chit chat. And I had like a week and a half to get everything ready. Thankfully, they went through my website and was like, this is the stuff we like. Whatever you have, send it. If you can tailor it, great. If not, just send it. It was like a 25-pound box of stuff. And, you know, it's a trip because you're addressing something and it's going to the Universal Studios lot.
How cool.
Like, how crazy is that? I'm
Totally.
like, what? And, you know, you're sending an invoice and it's like, okay. And I had to also, I was really nervous. I won't say that I almost didn't do it, but I had to be okay with, okay, if you send this, there's a chance that nothing gets used and you never see this stuff again. Is that worth it? Is the gamble worth it? And is that really a gamble? Because my goodness, what for them to even think to text my number is a blessing. But I had to be okay with that. Like, at least you got the chance. And so sent it off. I had to force myself to forget about it because I didn't want to, you know, worry myself all night about it until the premiere. And it was like New Year's Eve of 2021. They paid my invoice. And so, which was so funny because the stuff's been gone for a while now, but I'm like, it's fine. It's worth it. I don't care. And so I'm sitting there. It's like New Year's Eve. We cooking, getting ready. And it's like, NBC Universal paid your invoice. I was like, what the heck? I took a screenshot. I was like, that is so cool. Oh my gosh. And I'm like, okay, they're keeping it. I guess, you know, it's from this point, from September to December, I heard nothing. And that was it. Then I was scrolling through Instagram because they were doing previews for each character. And so the character Elisa Wilkes, I watched it. I'm like, oh, fun, cute. I was like, oh, that's a cute scarf she got on. Didn't think nothing else of it. Kept scrolling. And I thought about it and I was like, wait a minute. That looks familiar. That looks familiar. That looks familiar. Hold up. So I go back, I go to Bel Air's page and I watch it again because I'm like, I designed that scarf. That's my fabric, like that I painted. That's my thing. And I'm like, okay, we in there. I got a credit. Like, and if to me, I was like, if they only used one scarf out of that whole box, Whitney Manney was on Bel Air. Like, that's, you know, that's more than a lot of people can say. I'm like, even if they would have used it as a dish rag, oh well, like, do whatever you feel like. It's still on there. So I had it ended up one top, two scarves, 2 pairs of earrings got used. So they still got the box. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm getting asked for season 2. I'm manifesting it, but if I do, if I don't, it's still a huge milestone because that's not something that was on my radar as even an option for me because I'm like, I'm not on the coast. You know, how would they even think to know that to look for my work? So
do you think any of it came from was it the creator of the show you said is from KC?
Yeah.
Could they have pointed them in your way?
You know what? I have never met Morgan and I do not know him. We are, I think we're the same age. So we within like the same age group. I know people that he knows. And so I don't know. I don't think that he knew my work before this, but I do know that he made a big effort to include a lot of Kansas City artists. So a lot of the music you hear in the background is from Kansas City musicians. A lot of the paintings that are in the homes, those are by KC artists. Aunt Viv's character is a painter. And so all of those paintings, those are by a KC artist. And so it's just great. Nobody said anything to each other. So it was like when everything was coming out, we were like, wait, you in it too? You? And so that was awesome. Cause I was not going to say anything until the season was over because I am so like, no, like I gotta know. I want to make sure, because I don't know. I was like, I don't want to be embarrassed if like nothing got
Mm.
included, or if it was only one thing, and like, am I making a big deal? Da, 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 da. Everybody don't make it to TV.
Yeah.
It is a
You
big
do.
deal. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a big
So
deal. And I
I
love
gotta
that
acknowledge it.
you do. And it does sound like the KC community was represented really well in that show. And that
Yes.
like comes again from what you were saying about building the community where one doesn't
Mhm.
exist naturally, like taking the effort to do that.
Yeah.
And like look what can come of it, right? When we
Right.
look back to where we came from and bring up artists and creative folks from there too. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really important thing to keep in mind is as creators, when we get into positions where we have influence over where we can draw inspiration from, or if you can bring in other creators.
Yeah.
I love the fact that they decided to they could have just as easily just pulled from LA people. It would have been
Mhm.
simpler. It
Yeah.
probably
They
would have
could
been
have
a
just
lot
gone
more
down
to
the
choose
street. Yeah.
from. But
Yeah.
they took the extra effort to be like, no, we're gonna pull from somewhere else. And that also brings in new ideas and new looks, and like it's because
Yeah.
the problem with everybody being in one place is that everybody starts to kind of like mimic each other in some ways, and
Mhm.
everything gets washed out, and then everybody is, like you said before, everybody is, you know, to use the metaphor, walking around wearing stripes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You
Stripes
Yeah.
know
and
what I mean?
neutrals. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything turns into neutrals and stripes, and then people who want stuff like yours, they're like, they don't even think about it because it's not even in anyone's radar. So
Right. Yeah, and that's so true of like any opportunity to be able to bring people on. Like UPS is picking it up today, finally finished, but a big production job, like a prop building job for a fast food chain. I'll just say that. But you know, we needed a team, and to be able to like call people I know and be like, hey, do you want to help with this? Like, come on, I got you. Like, this is, and then we're working on another production project that's due next week, and to be able to hire more people for that and to design for that is just an amazing opportunity. I mean, and these are like huge things you cannot say no to, prime time kind of like opportunities, and to be able to like call people I went to school with, or like family and everything else, and be like, come on, let's get to it. It's just an amazing opportunity to be able to be in this place now.
Yeah, and to be able to be the one who is like giving back to the community that you've built as well.
Yeah.
Maybe let's close with some advice that you have for creators who don't live in a main creative hub and they're feeling this pressure, right? They're feeling like I cannot succeed, or maybe like is the best thing I can do for myself to move to one of these places. What advice do you have for them building a creative career in their own city?
Yeah, you know what? And to be honest, going to school here did help. But I would say you don't have to, education does not have to be the route, first of all. But there are nuanced communities everywhere. It just takes a little bit of digging, a little bit of talking. Probably if you are feeling like, oh, there's no hope, 9 times out of 10, you are not getting out there enough. So you do got to talk to some people. You got to make some phone calls. You have to show up to events. And no matter how big or how small, it does take hitting the ground, talking to people, introducing yourself. And of course, building your social media as you go. A big chunk of my time, though, my biggest community on Instagram was KC people. But once that kept growing and got to a certain point, then everybody else started showing up. So don't discount the people that's around you, though. Like, I think as creatives that are in smaller markets or not traditional markets, we kind of like, these are not the people that I want to make for. No, they're important, because maybe they might not purchase your work, but they probably got family all over this country or all over the world. And so you never know when they might refer you to somebody else. So be nice, be a part of the community, be nice, show up, try to be a part of as many things as possible. Very early in my career, I definitely said yes to everything because I wanted to decide what I did or did not like. And that was the only way to kind of get that in there. And, tried it once. If I hated it, don't do it again, sis. Like, and that's all that you can do. And got to the point where, I did enough KC Fashion Weeks and St. Louis Fashion Weeks to where, okay, what would a Whitney Manney show look like? A self-produced show look like? Let's try it. Because I am in this smaller city, I can call up a gallery and be like, can I use this space for 2 weeks and make it happen? So don't be afraid to like dig in and do the work to also create your own opportunities. Because if somebody says, no, we can't do this right now, or no, you're not a part of this show, those rejection letters, they're going to keep rolling in no matter how flying popping you get. Okay, how can I go ahead and create this opportunity for myself? I think you got to have the get up and go with itness to kind of create those things for yourself. And we are in a self-production world right now. I mean, look at us right now. We popping up on the camera and our headphones, and we got us a show happening. So you really do have to think about, okay, what opportunities that exist in my community that I can take advantage of, but what is that one opportunity that I could create for myself this year? And I can do it so well that people are like, okay, we paying attention to this person.
Boom.
Boom.
Love it.
Love it. Great advice, Whitney. Hopefully anyone listening who has been feeling like, I was, several years ago in New Zealand, feeling like, what am I doing here? I hope that was the dose of inspiration you needed. So we like to end our shows with a shout out. And I thought, Whitney, we could shout out something that you've done recently that you have coming up. I don't know. What comes to mind? What are you proud of recently? Aside from your work being featured on Ballet,
Yeah, I have no idea what is going on. Well, I am so excited. I have started a partnership with Velcro brand. So that's been going well, creating content. I'm very excited about that. I'm excited that I've been able to hire people to help me, and I've been able to pay them, and the lights still click on when I come in every day. My website relaunched. I'm excited about that. It's beautiful. I hired somebody for that. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm just grateful that the phone is still ringing. The emails are coming in. I was in the Kansas City Royals commercial recently. So that was cool. I get to throw the first pitch next month at a game. So crazy, right?
That's cool.
I'm going to have to dig back to my athletic days. I've been practicing, but yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to just hopefully be a resource for the community and, just keep it going.
I love how you started that by saying, I don't know what has been going on, and then just was able to rattle off a bunch of great things.
I know.
If anyone wants to check out that newly relaunched website, head to whitneymanny.com. We'll link it in the show notes. And what's your Instagram handle, Whitney? Where should people follow you?
I am Whitney Manney. That is WhitneyManney on Instagram and Twitter. Twitter is like very random thoughts, but a streamline. It's pretty cute and fun over there. So at Whitney Manney on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. I'm on Facebook as well with the business page. And So
check Whitney out and check out all the cool stuff, especially the earrings. I think they're my favorite. The ones that are like little drops.
They're about to retire too. So
get in quick. Okay.
Get it while you can. Yes.
That website is looking pretty nice. I gotta
Thank you. I got a couple of little small things to kind of clean up, but yeah, I'm happy with how
I'm sure
it looks.
you're the only one that notices it.
I am.
Definitely.
I am.
Well, thank you, Whitney. And Miguel, what do we have coming next week?
So next week I will be talking about budgeting as a creator and specifically trying to tackle the question of, how much money should you be spending on your side hustle? And, should you go all in, or who knows? Tune in next week to find out.
And Miguel won't be
I'm sure Whitney's got some thoughts. Yeah. She got some thoughts about that.
Budgeting and taxes are terrifying words for us. So,
So please tune in and hopefully we can give you some advice. All right. Thanks for being here and thanks for everything, Whitney. And we'll see everyone next week.
Bye.
Bye.